Alrighty, good evening, everyone. Thanks so much for joining. We're so happy that you're spending your Monday evening with us. My name is Becky Stockton. I'm going to be one of our moderators or leaders tonight for our webinar. So I'll give it a couple minutes while more people join. I'm joined by my colleagues, Tara and Sarah. We'll do some more formal introductions in a couple minutes. But in the meantime, if y'all want to put in the chat where you're joining from, I know we have people registered from all over the country. So if we want to share in the chat where you're coming from, we'd love to know. Denver, welcome. Orange County, Ohio, welcome. Nice. Some Washington, Alaska. Nice and close home. Lots of Seattle, I love it. Welcome, Bend. Oh, there's a lot of you in here. Wow. Awesome. Well, we're so excited that you all are here. We'll go ahead and get started. More people will trickle in, but happy that you're all here. Good evening. Thanks so much for coming to our Applying to Gonzaga as a first-year student webinar. Thanks for joining us from all over the country, as you can see in the chat. My name is Becky Stockton. I'm one of the assistant directors here at Gonzaga. I work with students specifically from Arizona, Utah, Texas, and then the east side of King County, so east side of the Seattle area. I'll be one of your hosts for this webinar. And you may have noticed you are not able to turn on your cameras or your audio. This is so that we can record this webinar and kind of post it to our website later. But we are more than happy to answer any questions that you have. So if you could just use the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. Sarah will be in there throughout the webinar answering some questions, and we'll also answer some questions out loud. But I have a couple colleagues I'd love for you to meet. First, we'll start with Tara, who's co-hosting this webinar with me. Tara, can you introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, my name is Tara Sommerfelt and I'm an admission counselor here at Gonzaga. I work primarily with students in Colorado and Nebraska as well as the Northeast, but I'm happy to help you throughout this process.
Awesome. And Sarah, you want to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Hi, everybody. My name is Sarah Welchel, and I'm also an admission counselor here at Gonzaga. I primarily work with students that are in Northern California as well as Southeast Washington. I'm also going to be one of your moderators this evening, and I'll be the one in the Q&A that's helping to answer some questions.
Perfect. Alrighty, so just to get us talking about the application process, we'd love to do a poll. We'd love some crowd interaction. Sarah's gonna share a poll. We'd love to know how many of you have started your Gonzaga application. Pop quiz, hope you studied. Love it, lots of answers coming in. Okay, I'm doing pretty good. We're like 60-40, yes, no. Alrighty. I love it. Yep. So we're about 62% of you have started your application, 38% have not. That's okay. You still have plenty of time. So we're going to kind of walk you through just kind of what it is, all the steps to apply to Gonzaga as a first-year student. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you all. Alrighty, so again, welcome to this webinar. We know that the college application process can be very stressful, so we really just hope that tonight can relieve some of that stress. Many times things are most stressful when processes are unknown or you have no control over them. So we're hoping that tonight we can give you some insight into our process as well as identify the parts of the application that you do still have some control over right now. So we'll go ahead and change our slide. So at Gonzaga, we use the common application for both domestic and international first-year students. This is an application that is accepted by many universities. So the idea is that it decreases the number of forms you have to fill out for each school. The cost of the common application is $60. We have two deadlines. We have early action and then a regular decision deadline. Early action is a non-binding decision, meaning that you can apply by November 15th and then hear back by the end of the year. It's usually around Christmas time, but you still have until May 1st to make your college decision. Regular decision applications are due by February 1st. Those students will be notified about their decision by early March. You will still have to make your decision by May 1st, so it's just a little bit shorter of a timeline. For those who may need an application waiver for the common application, there are a few different options for that. The common application does have a box that you can check where you can request a fee waiver for economic reasons, and then your high school counselor will confirm that for you. Additionally, Gonzaga alumni do have the ability to submit waivers on behalf of students who are applying. That is done through the alumni page of the GU website. You can also just Google Gonzaga alumni application fee waiver or something like that, and it will pop up for you. We definitely never want the inability to pay the application fee to be a barrier to you applying for admission to Gonzaga. So please contact our office if you do need assistance or have any issues or anything.
We read applications holistically. So we look at 5 main factors for most of you, and 6 if you decide to submit your test scores and want to use it. We are a test optional school. More about what test optional means in a little bit. But the first of the 5 factors in grades is grades and grade trends. We want to look at a student's GPA. We also consider their grade trends, grades going up or down or staying the same, and circumstances that may have led to that trend, including challenges through the pandemic. The middle 50% of students enrolled at Gonzaga were between a 3.53 and a 3.92 unweighted GPA. This means that 25% had GPAs below a 3.53 and 25% had GPAs above a 3.92 on an unweighted scale. We use unweighted GPAs so that all students are on the same 4.0 scale, while at the same time looking at curriculum separately and giving it a considerable weight as well. All students applying to Gonzaga should have a standard college prep curriculum. By college prep curriculum, essentially we mean that students should have 4 years of English, 3 to 4 years of math, 3 years of a social science, 2 to 3 years of the same language, and 3 to 4 years of science. We know that more challenging classes can make for students who are better prepared for college, and so we encourage you to take challenging courses that are available to you and still allow for balance in your life. In addition to preparing students better for college and therefore factoring into the application and merit scholarship a student may receive, many times students can bring in credits if they meet certain test requirements or the college classes they've taken are equivalent to one offered at Gonzaga. We will add a link to the chat as well, showing our AP, IB, and Cambridge and Running Start / college and the high school courses as well, and their policies and equivalencies, so you can kind of determine what credits count or get a head start at looking at it. But please note that if you will have college credit from college courses you took while in high school or AP or IB or Cambridge tests you took, you are still considered a first-year student, but with credit, and not a transfer student. You may have enough credits to have junior standing once you're in college, but you'll need to follow all the deadlines for first-year students, so either the November 15th or February 1st deadline for admission that Becky was talking about, and you are eligible for first-year scholarships for all 4 years of your time here at Gonzaga, not transfer ones. So it's kind of the best of both worlds, if you ask me.
Awesome. So kind of an important note here for those of you that are interested in majoring in nursing, that is our direct entry program. So for students intending to major in nursing, you will need to list nursing as your intended major on the application itself. For nursing applicants, we have a fairly small program, and this is our most competitive major. The first thing we're going to look for is 4 years of math and science in your high school curriculum. We prefer biology, chemistry, and other life science labs and courses such as anatomy and physiology, but other sciences are fine as well. It is helpful to have some experience shadowing or volunteering in health settings, but we've recognized that not every student is going to have the availability to do that, but just a good thing to note if you do have that opportunity. Students may only enter the nursing program as a first-year student, since this is a cohort model program with students taking their classes and clinicals together. It's not possible to transfer into the program. So it's important to know that those nursing applications must be submitted by the November 15th deadline. Applications submitted after November 15th will be applying for a spot on the nursing waitlist. So with the exception of homeschooled students, Gonzaga is test optional for admission for all majors, including nursing, also test optional for all scholarships and special programs such as the honors program. In other words, students applying without a test will have the same access to everything that students applying with test scores will have. When a student applies without a test score, we will place more emphasis on evaluation of grades, curriculum, and the writing throughout your application. If you do have a test score already and you are wondering whether or not to submit it, here are the mid 50% for test scores for our incoming class this year. The SAT was 1280 to 1410, and 28 to 32 was our ACT, middle 50%. You're more than welcome to discuss your specific situation with your admission counselor. But in general, if you already have a strong curriculum and GPA, you would have to have a pretty high test score at the top or over our middle 50% for the test score to really make a difference in your application, since you would already be so strong in those other areas that we would give more weight to. Homeschool students who will have more than 30 semester or 45 quarter credits of transferable credit from a community college or college at the time of your application do not need to submit a test score, though those who have less college credit are required to submit those test scores. For all applicants on our Gonzaga questions page of the Common Application, you will be asked to mark whether or not you want to have an SAT or an ACT test count as part of your application. If you mark no, then we will not use your score, even if you have already sent it to us previously. If you mark yes, we will use your score, and we will keep trying to contact you to get your test score if it's missing from your application at the time that you apply. If you've taken the same test more than once, we do super score your total score by taking the best score from each subsection, such as math and then evidence-based reading and writing, and then adding them together. So if you are using your scores, it's always helpful to provide us all of your scores so that we can use the highest ones from each subsection. Please make sure you're in communication with your admission counselor if you change your mind on using a score or not. And if we haven't finished our evaluation process, then we will make the change for you. The deadline to submit a test score is December 1st for early action and February 15th for regular decision. International students, you do still have to submit a test to show English proficiency. We'll put a link in the chat box where you can look through the options and requirements for showing English proficiency, such as an online Duolingo test. If your test scores are below our English proficiency guidelines and you don't qualify for a waiver, our Gonzaga Global program may be a good fit for you because it provides English language support that will help you be successful as an undergrad student at Gonzaga. If you choose to use a test score to meet the English requirement, you will still have the option to be test optional for admission.
So, as part of our holistic review, we consider your commitments to your outside of school activities as well. We are looking more for depth in an area rather than that you've done everything offered. Gonzaga is a very community-oriented place, and our students get very involved on campus and in the community. So we seek students who enjoy being involved, starting new clubs, serving as leaders in some capacity, and engaging in their communities. Please note that working, volunteering, and family responsibilities are important to list as they show responsibility, dependability, and engagement in your community as well. We don't value one type of activity over another, such as sports or music, or over anything like that. We are interested in all of the talents, passions, and abilities you bring to your college community. The Common Application requires an essay, and there's a short answer question on our Gonzaga questions page, and another one that will appear if you mark yourself as a nursing major. And finally, there's a section on the Common Application that allows you to address any challenges due to circumstances you have faced, and there's a section where you can address dips in your grades or other academic or personal challenges and recoveries. We do encourage you to use these sections if they apply to you, so you can give us more context for your personal situation, environment, and academic history.
Perfect. So for the essay, oh, sorry, I think I went to another slide too quickly. So for your essay, the Common Application has you pick one from 7 different prompts, and the last one is make up your own question. So you really do have limitless options. And we encourage you to pick the one that speaks to you and is the one that you can write about well. I also encourage you to make your topic narrow rather than broad. For example, writing about my passion for swimming is very broad, but if my topic is something more like what I learned from taking swim lessons for 10 years, that's a narrower topic that I can cover in the space allowed, and it lends itself for reflection. We want to see that you can write well. We also want to learn more about you from your essay. You are welcome to be creative with this, such as the student who wanted to be a journalist. So she wrote her essay interviewing herself 5 years into her career, or the budding poet who included a poem in their essay. The best essays let us experience what you have experienced as we read them. They kind of show us rather than just telling us. An example of a telling essay would be like for a student writing about debate, they could say something like, I've been on the debate team for all of my high school years and I've won many tournaments. It's an intense and sometimes scary activity, but I enjoy it. Versus the showing would be much more adeptly written. It could read something like, I scribbled furiously as my opponent finished her argument, making sure I could counter each point. Then as it was my turn to speak, I pushed my anxieties away and the usual rush of energy came over me, and I remembered I live for debate moments like this one. Strong essays also use vivid imagery and sometimes dialogue. They reflect on what the experience meant to them and tie the end of the essay back to the beginning, referring again to something that opened the essay so the reader knows it is coming to a conclusion. Strong essays are also well proofed for errors. I'm sure this goes without saying to this group, but they use appropriate capitalization, punctuation, and grammar, even in the short answer sections. I can't tell you the number of times that we've seen little i's or parents' names in all lowercase. The Common App does not automatically capitalize names for you, just FYI. So while we are not going to throw that student's application away, it doesn't leave the impression that you want it to leave, and overall professionalism on the application is important.
Again, as we are a community that really cares about one another, the final piece we look at is your character as seen through a letter of recommendation from an academic subject teacher, someone essentially who you had in a class, not just a coach, and your secondary school report filled out by your high school counselor or school office. A letter from your high school counselor is not required, though if your counselor sends ones, we do add it to your file. A final option is to do an interview with the counselor. As you can see, we highly recommend that for students with a 3.2 GPA or lower, or anyone who feels that a talk with an admission counselor may better help explain their academic history or personal needs better. We are also happy to meet students no matter what their GPA and academics show, as the more we know about you, the better we can connect you to the special opportunities at Gonzaga, such as separate application scholarships that might be a good fit for you. And we offer interviews via phone, video chat, and in person if you are able to visit campus. And you can sign up for them on our virtual Gonzaga and Visit Gonzaga pages we will put in the chat. You are also welcome to contact the admission counselor for your region to learn more and to answer your questions. We'll add the Find Counselor webpage to the chat as well. And if you do interview us, we cover your questions, individualized information on majors of interest, as well as scholarship and financial aid. And then speaking of scholarships and financial aid, we will be offering a webinar on September 30th at 6:00 p.m. Pacific Standard Time that covers Gonzaga's financial aid process and aid opportunities. So we hope to see you back here for that one in just a few short weeks. We also will be hosting a number of webinars throughout the fall and into the winter as well to share more about resources on campus, our specific programs, and the FAFSA. And we hope that you can join us for those.
Awesome. All right. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I know that was kind of quick, but hopefully that helped clarify our application processes, as well as kind of give you a sense of what parts of the application you have control over currently, some places to focus on, things like that. So now we'll address any questions that haven't been answered in the Q&A. Sarah, is there anything you should answer?
Yeah, we have a couple. The first one, you touched on it a little bit. Would you mind re-explaining the process of super scoring and how students can ensure that we evaluate for a super score, not just one test score?
Yeah, great question. The best way to make sure that we're going to super score everything is just to send us all of your test scores from whatever specific test that you took multiple times. So say that you took the ACT 3 times. You can just send us all 3 of your scores. And I should also add, you don't need to send us your scores officially, like through ACT or SAT or through College Board. you can just go into like your portal where you saw your scores online for either test and take a screenshot and then send that to us. Just make sure that your screenshot includes your name, the date you took the test, and then all of your subsection scores. So the easiest way to make sure that we can super score correctly is if you just send us all of the sittings that you took the test in. So like I said, if you took the ACT 3 times, just send us screenshots of all 3. And then our operations team, they will go in and make sure that they're grabbing the highest score from each section, even if you had them in different sittings. So that's kind of the easiest way to do it. Just like send us all of your scores. And honestly, even if you took the SAT multiple times and you took the ACT multiple times, like just send us screenshots of everything. Our operations team, we have our own, they have all the data on like what score is considered higher between the two. So they'll do their best to figure out what is going to give you the highest score. So just send us everything you have basically if you want us to super score and use your scores.
Awesome, thank you. We're getting a couple questions about our foreign language requirements specifically. There's a few people in here wondering about that. So could you speak a little bit to just what our requirements are and how they impact admissibility to Gonzaga?
For sure. So we have a 2-year foreign language requirement. ASL does count for that as well. So 2 years of the same language in high school. So either 2 years of Spanish, French, ASL, Mandarin, etc. If you have any concerns about that, maybe your school doesn't offer 2 years of the same language, like we completely understand that, or maybe there was a certain reason that you were unable to take that, please just let us know. That'd be great for you to elaborate on in your additional info section on the Common App. But it also would honestly be a good thing to just reach out to your counselor and just make sure that we kind of have the context for that. But our usual requirement is 2 years of the same language in high school.
All right, and then the next one, can you talk about the activities section of the Common App? I'm struggling to cut it down to 150 characters and I'm wanting to make sure that it still looks professional.
Great question. Yes, they do limit you a little bit. So we're really looking for like what have you done? What do you spend your time doing? If you have any sort of like leadership in those areas, that would definitely be something to highlight in the short 150 characters that you have for each thing. So if you're like captain of the soccer team, so you could put like soccer and then just make sure that you list like what years you were captain. Any sort of like officer position as well, maybe in like NHS, you're the president or something like that. Those would be good things to add. As far as like certain activities, I know sometimes students struggle with like shortening their list a little bit. We, like Sarah or Tara and I mentioned in the presentation, we do really like to see depth in certain areas. Not that you just like did everything under the sun. So don't feel like you have to put like literally every club if you went to like one meeting your freshman year for 30 minutes. Like I don't really need to know that. But if you did like club soccer and you did school soccer, like listing those two things separately, it really shows us like what you're spending your time doing. Again, including any sort of like family responsibilities, part-time jobs are a big thing as well. So I think highlighting things you kind of spent a lot of time doing, and then also highlighting any sort of like leadership and the depth that you have. So including like how many years you've done that, etc., things like that.
All right. And then the next one, how soon after early action submission are students contacted with their admission decision? And does that include the full financial aid package or just merit scholarships?
Yeah, good question. So we get all of the applications for early action on November 15th, and then we send out all of our decisions for that pool late December. It's usually around Christmas time. Your merit scholarship, that's the only thing that is completely tied to the strength of your application. So for both early action and regular decision, when you receive an acceptance letter, the merit scholarship, if you were awarded one, will also be listed in your acceptance packet. The full financial aid package, at least for early action students, will come a little bit later, just because the FAFSA only opens on October 1st and we have to wait to get all the data from the Department of Ed. So it will take us a little while to get those full packages out. We're hoping to have the full financial aid packages out by like early February, maybe late January. But that merit scholarship, if you earn one of those, will be listed in your acceptance packet. And that would be around Christmas, end of the year, if you apply for early action.
Perfect. Do you have any advice for making a successful supplemental question response, so separate from the essay responses?
Yeah, I feel like the supplement question can almost be a little bit more challenging for students than just the essay. So I get that. It depends kind of on what prompt you choose. And we do actually have on our admission blog, we have a blog post about that has all of the prompts for both our supplemental question and then also the Common App essay. So if you're not sure, you haven't looked at it yet, I would definitely recommend checking out that blog post. Because you can kind of like noodle on the different prompts there and then develop your answer from that. We really in our supplement, we are looking to like learn more about you, but also kind of see like what interests you about Gonzaga or why might Gonzaga be like a good fit for you. So sharing more about yourself and sort of your lived experience, anything about like Gonzaga or our mission that like really speaks to you. That's a good thing to kind of talk about in that supplement as well. But don't feel like you have to write, like, please don't write another essay. We don't need to read a whole nother essay. So don't, keep going, spend way too much time on it. But kind of showing us that you know how to write and that you've spent maybe at least a little bit of time kind of researching Gonzaga and figuring out why you're applying and what interests you.
Awesome. Next question, we have quite a few coming in, which is great. What is the best practice for letters of recommendation? Do students need multiple?
We only require the one. It's completely up to you what you want to do. I would definitely say as far as best practice, just making sure that whatever teacher you're asking to do your recommendation, that you are asking them and they're not just getting an email from Common App saying, John asked you to do this recommendation and they had no idea. And also giving them enough time to do it. Only your Common application has to be submitted by the deadline. It's okay if your teacher recommendation is a little late, but you definitely want to give them a heads up because chances are that they're doing recommendation letters for a lot of students. It's completely up to you. I would say that a lot of my students do their one teacher recommendation, and then some students include like a coach or a manager at a job, someone who's been really influential in their life outside of the classroom. But that's not at all required. I think a lot of students just feel that that person might be a great person to kind of talk about their character and all of that. So it's really up to you. That one teacher recommendation is the only one required. Just make sure that you're giving your teacher a heads up and plenty of time to complete it.
Perfect. This next one is about how we accept SAT and ACT scores. So the question is, are those SAT and ACT screenshots something outside of the Common application? How do we send those so that they can be submitted, and where do we send them to?
That's a fantastic question. Thank you for asking. So once you submit your application, you'll have an application portal that you can log into. And when it pulls up, it will basically have a little checklist. And it will tell you if it's missing things. So if you select on your Common App that you did want to submit your test scores and we do not have them, that will be one of the things on there. It will have a little red X saying that we don't have it. You can either upload your test score screenshots in your application portal, so there'll be a link to upload documents. Honestly, most students just email it to admissions@gonzaga.edu. You can also email it to your admission counselor. We'll just forward it to our processing team. So just emailing it to admissions@gonzaga.edu is probably the easiest way to do it. That's what most students do, but you can upload it in your application portal if you wanted to.
Perfect. We're getting quite a few questions about financial aid, and I know we have an upcoming financial aid webinar series that will help to address a lot of those. Would you mind speaking, though, just to how the timelines kind of align with different scholarships and their applications and deadlines?
Yeah, for sure. So our biggest chunk of aid that we give is merit scholarships. So like I said, if you do earn a merit scholarship, that will be listed in your acceptance packet. I don't think I even said what the range was. I believe the range right now is 19,000 to 32,000 per year, and those are guaranteed for 4 years. So that's the biggest chunk. That has no tie to your FAFSA. We are need blind when we're reading applications, so your FAFSA will not impact your merit scholarship at all. So that you just have to submit your Common App for that. We do have some additional Gonzaga funded scholarships, things like our honors program, music scholarships, debate, etc. You can see all of our scholarship opportunities. It's gonzaga.edu/scholarships. Those applications this year are due, most of them are due on January 5th. So if you're thinking of applying to those, we do have a webinar on November 5th that is about the honors program that will go in to like how to apply and things like that. So I definitely recommend that if you're considering applying for honors. Otherwise, like I said, those full financial aid packages we're hoping they'll have out in like February sometime. We have, let's see, 3 financial aid focused webinars this semester. So the one on the 30th, we'll talk about sort of just like the processes for financial aid and our aid opportunities. A great one to attend if you're filing a FAFSA, which we encourage everyone to do. On October 28th, our webinar is going to be on FAFSA, WASFA, which is just the Washington State equivalent, and other aid opportunities. And then December 2nd, we're going to be talking about Gonzaga financial aid, like next steps and what to expect. So at that point, hopefully the financial aid office will have a little bit better of a sense on when exactly those full financial aid packages will be coming out. Hopefully we'll be getting data from the Department of Ed at that point, but yeah, so I would definitely encourage everyone to come to those webinars if you're having questions about financial aid.
Awesome. This one's a little bit more nursing application specific, but could you speak more specifically on the nursing supplemental response question? Is there anything specific that we look for in that?
Yeah, good question. The question is something along the lines of basically, why do you want to be a nurse? So really kind of just sharing with us like what has inspired you to be a nurse. If you do have any sort of healthcare related experience, that would be a great thing to put on your extracurriculars, your activities section. But maybe if you, for some reason, like ran out of room, that would be a really good thing to touch on as well in the nursing supplemental question. But really nothing too particular that we're looking for. We just want to see kind of what's inspired you to take this path and why you think it'd be a good path for you to go down.
All right, similar nursing question to follow up. Is the nursing application on a different application or can you apply via the Common App?
Yes, so it's still on the Common App. So still the same application. When you select nursing as your intended major, that will tell the Common App to basically trigger that nursing supplemental question. But the rest of the application is exactly the same. So same Common App, you'll just select nursing as your intended major.
Perfect. And then we're also getting a decent number of questions about the honors program. There is an honors webinar that's going to be held on November 5th, so they'll be able to talk a lot more about the application process. Becky, would you mind speaking just a little bit to if it's the same application, if students are automatically considered, if it's a separate process, anything they need to be on the lookout for on the Common App?
Totally. Yeah. So our honors application and Common application, they don't talk to each other. So they are separate applications. You of course have to submit your Common App to be considered for the honors program at Gonzaga. So definitely make sure that you submit your Common App. You can apply regular decision on the Common App and then still apply to honors. I would encourage you to apply by the early action November 15th deadline because the honors application itself is due on January 5th. So it is a separate application. That one is hosted on our website. So I don't believe it's up right now. We usually have it go live November, maybe late October, but usually by November 1. And so it's a short additional application on our website. And then we also have you submit a portfolio. It's intentionally pretty vague. They'll go into it in more detail in the webinar, but just kind of tells us more about who you are, things that have shaped you into the person you are. We've had students submit essays, PowerPoints. We've had students submit videos of them dancing or doing spoken word or debate or really anything like that. So it's just that short additional application in that portfolio that is due by January 5th. So 2 separate applications. If you want more info about it, I would definitely recommend going to the webinar on November 5th. We will also record it and put it on our website. So if you're unable to make it, you can definitely check that out as well.
All right. And then next question, do we have an option to upload a resume to the Common Application, and how important is it to create one?
Yeah, you do have the option to, so same thing in your application portal. On the upload section, you can upload like an additional material. You can also just email it to admissions@gonzaga.edu and they'll add it to your file. Definitely not recommended. I would not say that it's super necessary because a lot of what you would put on a resume should be what's in your activity section of your Common App. So I would say as long as you're kind of hitting on everything. I've had some students submit resumes because they want to include any sort of like awards or things that they've won. There is also a section for that on the Common App. You could also include that in your additional info. So I wouldn't say it's super important because I think a lot of that info has places on the Common App where it can or should go. But you're more than welcome to send that to us if you'd like to. We can add it to your file.
All right. And then this is the last question that we currently have in our queue. But it's, how do I show in my application that I intend to double major or add a minor?
Yeah. So you don't have to say that on your application. I believe the Common App right now actually will only let you pick one major, but you can do, it'll ask you for your intended major. And then, I forget the exact wording, but it's basically like your secondary interest major. So you could put the two that you're planning on double majoring on there. You could write in your additional info, like I'm hoping to double major in these two areas. But if you apply to Gonzaga as like an English major, you put English as your intended major, you're admitted to English in every major except for nursing. You can double major, you can do a minor, however you choose. Nursing is the only one that you just have to declare. So your decision to double major doesn't impact our admission decision. So if you want to write that on there somewhere in your application, feel free, but it's not necessary. Did we miss anything, Sarah?
We just had a couple new ones drop in, so we're still good to go. Yes. The next one is, so when it comes to activities that we've done and awards that we've been given, do we want them written out in an essay or bullet points / doesn't matter?
It's really up to you. I would say like I wouldn't. My default would be, so there is a section where you can talk about like awards you've been given, or you can just put it in the additional info. My default would be just doing bullet points. You can like briefly explain it if you think it's something that we maybe wouldn't necessarily understand what you're saying. But we've seen a lot, so I promise you we probably know what you're talking about. So that's kind of my default, is just to do bullet points. If you like won some sort of award or had some accomplishment that was like really meaningful to you, you could definitely write your essay about it, but make sure that it's very like reflective and telling or showing us, rather than just saying like, here's this award that I won, and then you just write 5 paragraphs about it, when we can like read about it in your activities section or etc. So I would say like don't write about it to like replace your essay. Don't feel like you have to replace your essay for that. My default is just to do bullet points to share those things. If it was really meaningful, you could make it the topic of your essay, but just make sure that it is still very much an essay.
All right, and then this next one, it touches a little bit on Gonzaga's concept of general admission versus direct admission within nursing. So the question is, I'm undecided and interested in 2 majors right now, but they're in different schools at Gonzaga. What recommendations do you have, and does it impact the application process?
Yeah, that's a great question. So if one of the ones that you're considering is nursing, definitely select nursing as your intended major. You can always leave nursing, but you can't switch into it. So that'd be my number one guidance. If one of the things you're considering is nursing, select nursing. We can go from there later if you decide it's not for you. If the 2 that you're considering are just 2 other majors, it's really up to you. It honestly doesn't matter. Nursing is the only major that we're looking for any sort of certain requirements. Everything else is that general admission. So if you're considering like English and business, you could put English as your intended major, business as secondary, vice versa. You could apply undeclared. That's totally fine. If you choose to come to Gonzaga, so in the spring, once you commit to Gonzaga, you will be sent what we call an academic interest survey from our advising office. And that is what they use to build your schedule for your first semester. So you actually on there could say like, I'm considering majoring in English or business. I'm not really sure which one I want to do. And they can kind of do your schedule a little bit. So maybe you're in like an entry-level English class and you're also taking an entry-level business course, things like that. So it doesn't impact your admission unless nursing is one that you're considering. We can definitely help later on once you decide to come to Gonzaga in terms of like helping you figure out which way you want to go. I changed my major 3 times. I still graduated in 4 years. So like you have plenty of time to figure it out. From an application standpoint, it doesn't really matter all too much.
Awesome. And just to echo that, I changed my major 4 times, so very similar boats. It's very flexible at Gonzaga. Becky and Tara, though, it looks like those are all the questions that we have. No others have trickled in super quickly. Oh, all right. Just kidding. We have more. A couple of these we can answer directly. Kind of feeding off of what you just talked about, Becky, though, do students need to submit on their application any preference for classes, or is that a step that comes later on?
Yeah, that's a step that would come later on.
Perfect. All right. It looks like then we are out of questions for how to apply as first-year student to Gonzaga.
Perfect. Alrighty. Well, thank you so much, everyone. It's been such a pleasure being with you this evening. We really appreciate your time. Please join us again for the webinars that Tara mentioned. We'd also love to host you for our in-person preview days on October 3rd, 24th, and November 10th. We also have a number of in-person visit and virtual information sessions, interviews, daily campus visits, etc. So please sign up to join us by visiting Gonzaga, or it's visiting. Wow, I can't talk tonight. Gonzaga.edu/visits. That's where you can register for all of our visit options. We wish you the very best in your college application process and hope that you'll let us know when we can help. We're always more than happy to. But thanks so much for attending and for your interest in being a ZAG. And I hope that you all have a great night. Take care.